My 22X-4 is done. Now, I just need a track. Hey everyone, Rich here from the RCNetwork.com, and today it's time to go over my full reveal of the brand new TLR 22X-4. Now, of course, that is TLR's newest 1/10 scale 4-wheel drive off-road electric buggy. Now, if you haven't already done so, please check out my full build review and also my unboxing of this kit. It goes over pretty much everything that you get inside the box on day one and how the entire kit assembles. And I break down the entire process that I went through on building my kit. In this video, we're going to be taking a look at how I outfitted my 22X-4, electronics I chose, wheels and tires, and of course the paint and other things that went into making this a fully functional RC. But as always, I will have a handy link for you down in the video description to any of the products that I mentioned. Starting with paint, I went with a basic RCNetwork paint scheme with some Pactra metallic blue backed with the Outlaw black to give it that deep dark blue color, and of course some Sprint white on the sides just to make some of the decals pop. As for wheels and tires, I went to my friends over at Raw Speed RC for some of their newest rubber. Now, starting with the rear, I went with the Raw Speed radars. These are a standard 1/10 scale kind of pattern design. These are reversible, so you can actually run them either way depending on your track. So definitely like the tread pattern here, and these will have outstanding grip over at OCRC. Now, as far as the fronts, I went with their Stage 2. Now, these are definitely a 4-wheel drive sized tire, and the grip is going to be outstanding. Once again, these two combined are going to be a great option. Now, although the TLR came with those yellow dish wheels, I threw some white ones on there. That's just what I'm used to. I can't look at yellow wheels for some reason, so I went with Raw Speed's basic white wheels. Now, although they don't have a name stamped on them, these things are super balanced. Probably one of the most balanced wheels I've ever put on a rig before. I simply mounted them on, gave them a spin on the bearing, and couldn't believe how balanced they were out of the package. Taking the body off, I just wanted to give you guys a low angle shot here of how low everything is on this buggy. Everything's super low, the center of gravity is really low. I really appreciate the layout that TLR came out with. With a bird's eye view, I went with some of Decals' best and newest electronics on the market, including their RSX Pro speed control, their Redline Generation 4 motor, and their T180 low profile servo. The RSX Pro is the newest version of their brushless censored 1/10 scale racing ESC. This thing has every bell and whistle you could imagine, and combined with the Decals Hotwire 3, you have programmability right off of your smartphone. The Decals Redline Generation 4 motor is a work of art. Now, instantly when you take it out of the box, you see all of the cutouts. You can practically see through the motor. They've cut down a ton of weight on this thing, bringing it down to 145 grams. Now, I chose the 6.5 turn version for a large indoor clay track over at OCRC, and this should definitely be a nice turn for that track. Now, most impressive out of the Decals trio was the T180 low profile servo. Now, this has every bell and whistle you'd expect from a very premium servo, but what was most amazing was I could drop into the Hotwire app on a PC and find its center point right there. You can just mount it up, say this is center, and away you go. Now, I'll have a whole separate video on this servo down the line showing some of the programmability of this thing, but I've got to say the tech savvy person came out of me when I installed this thing and hooked it up to Hotwire. Rounding out the electronics is a ProTech Shorty Pack. This is their 4900 milliamp 120C lithium high voltage pack, complete with 5mm bullets. This thing will have you running down the track with plenty of runtime and some great performance. Although I didn't have an extra SR or super response receiver on hand, I dropped in an R304 SB receiver from Futaba. Got it made it up to my 7PX radio system, but down the line I'll pick up the SR version just to give me a little bit more response time. Now, whenever you build a kit, there's always those few extra parts that you need just to kind of round out your build, give it a little bit of flair, or maybe some items that you just don't think about. So in these last few items, I'm going to list out extra items I put put onto my kit. Starting with the TLR 22X-4 25 tooth spline servo horn. I went with their recommended version of it, and it mounted up to that Tekin servo very nicely, and look ma, it doesn't hit the body with the Tekin servo. From Avid RC, I added some of their small items that just make a big difference. Starting with their 5mm bullet plugs. These are kind of like the Parrot bill style, and they definitely hold on to those battery connections very well. No build is complete without some Avid Triad wing buttons. These are the aluminum version, and they kind of match some of the anodization on the build. And just for a few bucks, it just gives your buggy that little extra bling. The Avid 3-wire carbon fiber separator, it's just that little extra piece you can put onto your build that makes you look like you can solder like Wally builds. Although I didn't have the official 22X-4 chassis protector, I dropped on just the universal one that Avid sells. You simply stick it down, cut out where you need to cut it with a sharp X-Acto knife, and your chassis is now protected from the track. Last but not least, the Robinson Racing aluminum pinion gear is a great addition. It made it up to the spur gear perfectly. It had enough bite and everything that you would expect. And I chose to drop on a 19 tooth based on the owner's manual recommendation for a 6.5 turn motor on a large track. Now, the only thing I wish I had when I was building this thing, but you just don't know these things until you actually build it and figure these things out, is I wish I had a 150mm sensor wire. The standard one that comes with the G4 motors is a 200mm, just has that extra loop back here, so 150 will end up working out perfectly. And finally, TLR does offer a carbon fiber electronics tray for the ESC, which I wish I had because there's lots of ribs and stuff on the bottom of the chassis. Although it does definitely feel secure there, it just gives it that extra little bling, and of course you can remove your electronics if you need to do so without taking it off your chassis. As far as the setup of my 22X-4, I set it up 100% stock from the setup sheet inside of the owner's manual for a clay track. Now, setting ride height, I used the J Concepts ride height gauge and got it to 19mm on both front and rear. Camber wise, I also used the J Concepts camber gauge and these cool little wheels from DE Racing. These are kind of like little setup wheels. It gives you a perfectly flat surface to measure your camber against, and then just, of course, an MIP turnbuckle tool just to get everything dialed in. Running -2 degrees camber on both front and rear. Now, I didn't build mine to save weight, but everyone always wants to know what an RTR weighs in at. Now, I have everything mounted on this thing except for a transponder, and this thing is weighing in, ready to run, at 1,756 grams. And just to give you a comparison, here is my Techno EB 410.2, and this weighs in at 1,832 grams. Similarly equipped, slightly different tires, same exact battery. Well guys, that is my full reveal of the brand new TLR 22X-4, but I want to pass it on to you guys. What's your thoughts on this buggy? Is this something you plan to pick up here soon? Are you a stock racer and definitely like the weight savings that the TLR offers? Are you just a brand loyalist to TLR? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comment section. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel here. Lots of new content coming out every week. Click that notification bell so you'll be notified every time I upload a video. And finally, my name is Rich. Thanks for watching.